Hi, I'm Steve Bourie, and I'm the author of the American Casino Guide book. If you're not familiar with us, please be sure to visit our website at americancasinoguidebook.com. Joining me today is Matt Bourie, who is my son and the editor of the American Casino Guide book.
How's it going, everybody? And our video today is the Las Vegas Casinos update for February 2021.
Today, we're going to speak with Anthony Curtis, who is the publisher of the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, tells you about all the things happening in Las Vegas. They've been adversely affected, as everyone, by the pandemic. So we try and check in with them about every 3 months to get an update on how things are going in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and the last one we did with him was in November of 2020, and we're doing this one now at the end of February 2021. So we're just going to check in and see what's changed over the past few months in Vegas and how they're recovering from the COVID pandemic. And here's Anthony Curtis.
Anthony Curtis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
I believe we're okay. Now, one question I got for you, the last time we spoke to you was in November. So people who aren't familiar with you, you are the publisher of the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter. So this comes out once a month, and it gives people updates on things that are happening in Las Vegas, correct? And I think since the last time we spoke, I believe you have your own YouTube channel now. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we looked at people like you and said, look at this, man, this thing's pretty cool. Maybe we should try it ourselves. So we've put together a Las Vegas Advisor channel. You can find it just by searching Las Vegas Advisor or Las Vegas Advisor show. And we're doing a number of things. We're doing updates on the on the virus and what's going on in Vegas, similar to what we're going to do here today. But we're also doing a segment of it that we call In the Wild. And, you guys probably know, but maybe some of the people watching don't. In the gambling business, it's kind of an insider term. When you're out playing or out in the casinos, it's called being in the wild. So me and a guy named Andrew Hunt, who's producing the videos, are going to do it together. We've done a couple already, and we go out and we play video poker or blackjack or whatever, and we comment on it. And, we're going to try to have some fun with it and see what we can do. We've only done about 12 so far.
Okay, well, it's always interesting to talk about casino gambling, and you and I have known each other for about 20 years or so, and we've done a lot of business together. So it's great to see that you're doing this YouTube channel on your own. But we periodically want to check in and see how things are going in Vegas. So I'm going to let Matt start this off. We got a bunch of questions for you to find out what the latest is happening on the situation in Las Vegas.
Well, I appreciate the plug, Steve and Matt, and so let's get on with it here.
Yeah. Okay. So when we last spoke back in November, I believe MGM, all the MGM properties had announced that they were going to be doing midweek closures, and they were going to not be open during the week. I just saw the other day that they're going to be going back to 7 days a week now. Are there any casinos that are still doing the midweek closures, or is everybody either opened or closed completely now?
No, well, with this change will go into effect at the MGM properties. Essentially, there were 3 of them. It was Mandalay Bay, the Park MGM, and the Mirage that were partially closed, mostly during midweek. Those 3, as of March 3rd, are going to go back to full-time, running 24/7. The only one that's now on a partial that's of any consequence is still Encore. And Encore came back during the New Year's Eve week, and they ran full time for 1 week prior to New Year's, and they went back to their partial. So right now they'll be the only one, and that's a good sign. It means that there's confidence in the the big casino sector, and these places are reopening. Now, when you go out and you take a look empirically and you walk around, you wonder, why are they reopening? Because it's it's midweek, it's still a ghost town out there. But I think that the changes that have been coming down the pike, the loosening of the restrictions, has given everybody a lot of optimism, and they're going to give it a go.
Now, when you say the loosening of the restrictions, at one time, weren't the casinos limited to 25% capacity? Was it? Is that what's been loosened?
Yeah, well, they went, they tried to open up. They went to 50% capacity after the long shutdown. The shutdown that started this time last year lasted for 78 days, almost 3 months. Then they went to 50% capacity, and then they backtracked and they went back to 25%. And this was back when we last talked, I think in November. And they kept it, they re-upped it 25% in December and again in January. And finally, last month, they started to bring it back. And now we're at 35%. Now that's kind of a strange number. I don't see the big difference between 25% and 35%, but it's really a step in the right direction. And everybody kind of grabbed that bull by the horns and they started trying to open up, like we just talked about, the MGM properties going to 24/7.
Now, let me ask you, like when they went to 50% and they went down to 25%, now that they're back up to 35%, was there a note, like walking through the casinos, can you notice a difference? Like, do they have like more machines open or more tables open, or is it like even noticeable of a difference?
I would say that in most places, it's really not noticeable, to be honest. I think it's really cosmetic. Like, I mean, are people really adhering to a strict 25%? I think some are. I know for a fact that some are. I mean, you walk into some bars and it will say specifically, we can only have 28 people or we can only have 32 people. But in the casinos, that's a real tough thing to keep a lid on. And I mean, if you walk around like during the Super Bowl, for example, there's no way that was, 25%, there's just no way. But, I guess they do their best, or they do it at least for cosmetic appearances. And that's why going from 25 to 35 is kind of strange. But again, it's just the idea that all of a sudden it's, we're going in the right direction.
Now, back in November, there were some casinos that were closed, probably the biggest of them, the Palms, and a couple other station properties. Are there any that have reopened since November?
Some small ones, but not really. I mean, that hasn't changed. A lot of these places came back online real quickly. Right now, there's 7 major ones, I guess I would call major, that are still closed or have never reopened. I'll see if I can recollect them all. So the Palms, it's Main Street Station, Texas Station, both Fiestas, El Dorado down Henderson Way, and East Side Cannery. Those are the 7 that have never reopened, and they will at some point, I think, but not still. There's no due dates for any of those.
Okay.
Now, another thing everybody loves to complain about that they have been lifted for a while are the parking fees. Any word on if the parking fees are coming back or staying away? I think last time we spoke, wasn't one place bringing them back, I think, possibly?
Yeah, Caesars. Caesars brought them back, and they're the only ones that have so far. And they aren't as onerous as they were, at least for locals. Caesars now allows locals to park for free. So it's only the tourists who would dare park in a Caesars parking lot who are getting dinged. None of the others have done it yet. Now, are they chomping at the bit to do it? I think so. I don't think that because Caesars came back, I think you're going to see it back at MGM and Cosmopolitan. And, who knows where else. I can tell you right now, unfortunately, they still charge for parking downtown at the new Circa, which I just don't understand. I really don't understand that. There's no way to validate your ticket and get out of that. So, just don't park at Circa is my advice there, even though I really like that place. But yeah, right now it's Caesars entertainment places only. I think next will probably be MGM, but there's been no official announcement about that.
Okay. All right, now we wanted to move on and ask about the shows. We hear that they've announced that some shows are going to be reopening. When we spoke back in November, I think MGM was thinking that they were going to have some shows open, but they didn't. They were talking about Carrot Top back then, and Fantasy and Thunder Down Under. They were saying they were going to open in November, but I don't think they ever did. So what's the latest on shows?
Well, some of them did open briefly, really briefly, but not all of them. And they got, immediately slapped back down, with the changes in the protocols again. So they all closed. Now, this is another action very similar to what we're seeing with the reopening of the casinos full time, is several of the shows, many of the shows are coming back. Now, that's not the really big cirque shows and all, but the main other shows for MGM and Caesars are almost all coming back. Now, here's the problem with this. The prices are way up. And yeah, we just did a survey on this. We were all like, oh boy, this is great. Shows are up and you can go buy tickets, and you can, if you reserve far enough in advance, you'll be able to get a seat. And then we started looking at the pricing, and oh my goodness, I mean, everything is up by $50, $60. I mean, we could not hardly find a show in a casino that had a ticket under $100. So
Wow.
here's what they're doing. They're trying to compensate for the, reduction in number of people they can have by raising the ticket prices and getting more revenue that way. And, I don't blame them. They're trying to do what they need to do to survive, but the customer needs to understand that. And we're trying to get a real handle on it and, publish it at lasvegasadvisor.com, what those ticket prices are.
Now
There's a little bit of sticker shock.
I saw that they had a few that are open now, like Carrot Top's open now, Fantasy's open now, Brad Garrett Comedy Club's open now, and Thunder Down Under's open now. But they were saying that some of them were in different venues. I think it was the Brad Garrett Comedy Club. One of them it said was in like one of the ballrooms. So what they have them in, they've moved them to smaller venues, or because they can fit less people, or they've moved them to bigger venues to have more space.
Mostly, I think the ones that have moved, I think they're moving them into smaller venues because I think it's just, I think it helps the production value of it. Instead of being and they don't want anybody in a big giant arena. Think about it. There are companies called papering companies, and what they do is they give away free tickets to shows when they're not filled up. The reason for that is that they want to. They're not doing that now, but I mean, in pre-pandemic times and post-pandemic, they'll be doing it again. But that's because nobody wants to perform or nobody wants to be in a big arena or a hall by themselves. So, I think that they've gone to the smaller venues, ballrooms and things like that, just for the production value of it. But it really pretty much all of the biggies are going to open, Luxor's Fantasy, as you mentioned, Copperfield, all of them are going to try to come back. It was just mentioned the other day that Absinthe is going to reopen at Caesars.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
I have the list here. David Copperfield is supposed to open March 21st, and that's at MGM Grand, I think.
Yeah.
Terry Fader is supposed to open March 18th at New York, New York. The Australian Bee Gees are supposed to open March 15th at Excalibur. Absinthe opens March 17th at Caesars Palace. And also the V Theater at Planet Hollywood. They've got like 20, 30 different shows there, and they're going to open March 6th. So they're
so they say. I'd be careful about the V. I believe the others, but V, they've been doing this for quite a while. They put an opening date or they sell tickets for a certain time, and then that time comes and the shows still don't open. So they've said for a while they're going to open in March. So I think there's a good chance that those shows open at V Theater. And they're good. Those are good shows and value shows, but I'm sure those prices will be up too. But this is a moving target. I mean, anybody, if you want to see a show, you better be prepared to pay a high price. And they come in twos. So, I mean, you got to buy either 2 or 4 or 6 in almost every occasion. They don't want any odd numbers. You certainly can't go by yourself because they're just afraid that they won't be able to get their full capacity of what's allowed. And you better be prepared that they could cancel or they might not open at all. So you got to keep an eye on it.
And one last question on shows here. You had mentioned Cirque. Now, I believe Cirque had gone, did they not file for bankruptcy and they're trying to reorganize? What's up with them?
Yeah, their whole financial thing is in a little bit of disarray. They've been spun off and sold and had problems throughout this whole thing. So nobody really knows what's going on with Cirque, but the word is that when they're ready, they'll be back. And almost all of the shows. The only one that has been announced as not coming back for sure, as far as I know, is Zumanity. And Zumanity was kind of a strange show for Cirque.
Yeah, that was a real weird one.
It was.
And that's saying a lot for Cirque shows.
Yeah, I liked it actually. It was more of an adult style show, and it lasted over 10 years. It did really well overall, but that's the one that they decided not to bring back.
All right. I actually didn't know that. That's good to know. Now, on to dining. Everybody wants to know about the buffets. Any words on the buffets coming back?
No word on the buffets. It's one and done still. The only one open is still at South Point.
I know a few others opened, and then I guess they just weren't doing well and closed again, or?
Yeah, there were 3 of them. The first was Wynn, then South Point. Then Cosmopolitan, then South Point. But Wynn and Cosmopolitan have both shut down since. They did it differently, and it didn't really fly. For instance, at Wynn, they actually brought the food to your table. You ordered off a checklist like you were in a restaurant. And, that's not a buffet, so that didn't work. At Cosmopolitan, I think they just weren't getting the crowds they needed. So they suspended that one. And the only one that continues to do it is South Point. We did a whole video on that, going back to our YouTube. We went and ate that South Point thing because that's what everybody wanted to know about. So we commented on it. It's good.
I mean, what was it? It's like cafeteria style where you walk up and they serve you?
Yep, that's the only difference is they serve you. You can't take your own. Actually, there are a few things. If it's a dish that like a small plate dish where it's already plated, for instance, during the week they have prime rib and shrimp cocktail. And all the shrimp cocktails are individual, and you can just grab those shrimp cocktail and serve yourself, and you can grab the condiments to go with it. So you can get the cocktail sauce and the lemons or whatever. You can take those yourself. But everything else, just about, unless it's plated already, you've got to let them serve you. And it's kind of creepy. I mean, you think about getting a salad. You go and they've got like a whole bunch of salads up there, and it's like, okay, this is nice. These salads look good, but they have to hand it to you. And how do you make salads, right? One of the best things about a buffet is you make your own salad the exact same way you want it. 2 tomatoes, 7 garbanzo beans, the way you do the whole thing. And that's just out the door. You can't do that.
I feel like since it's cafeteria style, that just wouldn't really fly at the Wynn. That would just be even more awkward than them bringing the food to you, I think, on like a super high-end place like that. But so maybe that's why it didn't work. But
I think
go
the
ahead.
thing about the Wynn is you couldn't go up and look at the food. And I think that a lot of people want to see it before they order it. So, not only could you not get your own portion size, but you just kind of had to sit there and look at what they had, and you couldn't see it. And it just, again, it's not a buffet.
It's not a buffet. That's the whole cool thing about a buffet is you get to see exactly what you want before you get it.
Yeah, but I didn't hate it. I'll tell you what, I didn't hate it at South Point. I actually liked it at South Point. And I mean, you're right there, you see the food, you tell them. And the thing is, like we did in our video, is you've got to be ready to go, wait, stop. Because what they want to do is get a gigantic spoonful of whatever you ask for and fill half your plate with it. And you got to go, too much, stop, don't give me that, and they, okay, they shrug and put it back in and they give you what you want. So you got to be a little bit assertive if you're going to go eat there.
Now, what about the normal restaurants? Because I think there was last time we spoke, or one of the last times we spoke, seating at the normal restaurants was an issue because they were at minimum or limited capacity. Is it still hard to get a table at most of the nicer restaurants that are opened, or?
It is on weekends, especially. It's really hard, and that's just such an odd, unintended consequence of what's going on here. You would expect that because people aren't coming out, that there'd be all kinds of vacancies, and you'd be able to get reservations, but you can't. I mean, to try to walk in, one of the important things about the loosening of the restrictions last month is that before that, you had to call for reservations no matter where you went. The rule was you literally had to call for reservations or you were not supposed to be allowed, although some places, bent that rule. Now they've taken that out. So you can walk up, and if there's room, they'll seat you, but it's difficult just walking up, especially on weekends. And it's difficult even calling and getting reservations. And that's because there's enough people. I mean, obviously lots of people are staying home, but there's enough people that say, screw it, I'm going out. And there's all that pent up demand, and they put on their masks and they go out, and they're showing up, especially on weekends. They want to get out. They want to party a little bit. They want to eat outside of their own kitchen. So you absolutely have to call for reservations if you want to get a good seat at a good place on a weekend.
Well, one thing I forgot to ask, I want to go back to it when we were talking about capacity of hotels. How are the room rates are relative to what they used to be? Are they still down?
Well, here's what's going on. Rates are going up. I mean, prices are going up everywhere. We just talked about shows, and just in the bars even, that have kitchens, or in the restaurants you go to, all your favorites that you go back for, they're all $1 or $2 more. Everybody's raising prices, but not room rates. Room rates are low. And that's because there's just so much inventory of rooms and so few people coming in relative to that inventory. So they have no choice. And I mean, the most elastic of all pricing in Vegas is rooms. They move up and down with the wind, or, with the yield management, whatever, it's called for. And at this time, room rates are really low. That's where the bargains are in Las Vegas, is on cheap rooms.
Okay. And now we wanted to go into ask a bunch of other questions about some other things going on there. The new hotels, the Virgin, which used to be the Hard Rock. How are they doing? I think they had delayed their initial opening.
Yeah, the Virgin, they were supposed to open in December. They took the Hard Rock, they hollowed it out and, rebranded it and turned it into Virgin Las Vegas.
Well, it's Virgin Las Vegas, but then the casino is Mohegan Sun or something.
Yeah, the whole complex is known as Virgin. And the casino is being run, casino operations, all of that is being run by Mohegan out of Connecticut, that group. So yeah, there's a little bit of people get confused, but it's all under the Virgin roof. They pushed it back. They were supposed to open in December. They pushed it back to January. They pushed it back to undefined. And I mean, literally hours after it was announced that capacity was being raised, and that capacity is likely to be raised to 50% again the 15th of March, they announced that they are going to open, I think March 25th or 28th, I think the 25th.
I know they're chomping at the bit because I already got a thing in the mail from my new casino host there, and he told me to call him anytime I wanted to book a room. He was ready to get. I called him. He was ready to get me in the door at the beginning of April, and I was like, I think that's a little early for me. But
Yeah,
he was throwing all sorts of stuff at me. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, you don't have. He's like, free suite. Why not? You know?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some good competition for people who are in that group, in that they have a host. They're known as that for being players, and on the lower end for the average customer who comes in and is looking for the freebies and all. I think it's going to be a tough slide for a while, as the casinos are going to remain a little bit tight. But I think at the higher and mid-high and high ends, I think it's going to be better.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do because I mean, Hard Rock always had real good games. I'm hoping they didn't get rid of those for when Mohegan Sun took over, but I guess.
Well, there's going to be no rollover there. Those are two completely different groups. So whatever Mohegan decides to do, it's not going to be predicated on what was there before. I guarantee you that.
Well, I'm holding out hope.
All right.
Well, and now another big casino project expected to open is Resorts World. That's going to open in the summer, and maybe you could explain what that is for people who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, Resorts World is one of the biggest projects to come to Vegas in a long, long time. It was on the site that used to be the Stardust. All right, so the Stardust got knocked down, years ago, a decade ago, and they were going to build a place called Echelon Place, and it was it got knocked out of the box by not by COVID, but by the problem before this, which was the recession. So the recession of the 2007, 8, 9, 10, whatever that time was, ended Echelon Place, and it was bought and taken over by this Resorts World. Now Resorts World has gigantic casinos all over the world, including one in New York and some and a couple overseas. So this is going to be one big giant place. I'm really excited to see it. They're going to have probably 20 different restaurants, 2 or 3 showrooms. And it's looking, mighty spectacular from the outside. It's due to open. They still haven't announced the date, but we're looking at late June or early July, I think.
Now, Anthony, I gotta jump in here. You said the Stardust got demolished 10 years ago, but I think that was that was like when I was in high school. I think that was a bit more than 10 years ago now.
Yeah, you're right.
Might be wishful thinking on your part, but
probably about 2 decades ago. It was more than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that Echelon Place started to be created. So yeah, certainly it's 20 years or more. But I don't know, Stardust is just, near and dear in everybody's memory still. Every time we do a survey at LasVegasAdvisor.com, like, tell us your favorite missed casino, Stardust always is number 1. And Lady Luck is number 2. It's bizarre, man. It's really bizarre.
Now, question is, there was back to this Resorts World thing. There is a rumor that Resorts World is trying to get Elon Musk and his crazy tunnel building company to build a tunnel from Resorts World to the convention center, which is way off the strip over by the West Gate. What are the odds on that actually happening?
Oh, it's a favorite, man. It's absolutely a favorite, not a rumor. I mean, they've actually have received go-aheads and permits and things like that. And as of right now, it's on probably more than just on the drawing board. I think it's in the planning stages. Oh, so I think you are going to see that. Yeah.
I know he's talking about building tunnels down here by us in Miami, and we already have those in Miami. They're called swimming pools. So
nice.
Now, the other thing is Steve, you want to talk about this?
Sure. I've been reading about this for years, and maybe you can explain what it is. But it's unbelievable how much this is costing. I'm talking about the MSG, the Sphere that they're building at the Venetian. So this is a big entertainment center. It's like a big giant ball, and the price tag is $1.6 billion. I think it started at 1.2, now it's up to 1.6, and they're spending $1.6 billion on a theater. That's right?
Right, MSG. And now we're not talking about the food additive here, right? This is Madison Square Garden, MSG. And this is the big, state-of-the-art concert venue that they're building behind the Venetian. And yeah, this one just keeps going up and up and up. The price tag keeps going up. The date of opening keeps being pushed back. Now it's, I mean, it was supposed to have been open already, and now it's pushed back to 2023, last I've seen.
Wow.
I've got some inside information on this from people who are close to the planning of it, who are really into the music part of it. We did a book called Rock Vegas here, and it was all about the history of music, done by one of the guys that runs the entertainment for the city in Las Vegas. And he says that this is going to be one amazing venue. He says it's going to be the greatest concert venue of all time anywhere. But
I hope so for $1.6 billion.
Yeah, well, it should be, right? Of
Wow.
course.
Where the hell are they going to put it? Is it going in the Sands Convention Center, or?
It's right behind it.
Oh, there was room behind it.
Yeah, if you go down Sands Avenue, which is between the Venetian and the Wynn, and you see the convention center on the right, and then you go past the convention center, and there it is. It just comes up out of the the ground, out of nowhere, and it's quite amazing.
Now, just for reference, $1.6 billion for just a concert venue. The Seminole Hard Rock down by us that just built a 40-story guitar that was made out of in the shape of a guitar and expanded their entire property only cost $1.5 billion, and they're doing $1.6 billion on just a concert venue.
Yeah, it's well, a lot of it was cost overruns and things that they screwed up on. But the technology of this thing, the sound and the way it's going to work, the things I've read about it are just otherworldly. I mean, it's like we're talking 30 years in the future here. It's going to be really something.
And then now, just one more question. You had mentioned earlier, last time we spoke, Circa was just opening. You've been back. How's that going?
I like Circa. I mean, I love Circa, to be honest with you. I really like the venue. There's a lot of knocks on Circa. I already made one of them, and the fact that they got this big garage called Garage Mahal, they call it, and they treat it like it's a Taj and not garage. You have to pay for parking. There's no way you can get around it. You can't get it signed off in the pit or anything. And I think that's just lousy for Vegas. I mean, especially downtown. It's just not the way they do things there. But I've eaten at 2 or 3 of the places there. The deli, which is called Saginaw's, good, really good sandwiches. I ate at Barry's Prime downtown. It's called Barry's Downtown Prime, and it's by the guy who ran 9 at the Palms. And it was just one of the greatest meals I've had in I don't know how long. I mean, expensive, sure. We're talking $60 steaks, that sort of thing. But if you're up for a splurge, they've got the most expensive side dish I've ever seen. It's lobster mac and cheese. It's literally a macaroni and cheese and a hollowed out lobster with all the lobster meat mixed in. It's $48.
Jeez.
And it's a side dish. It's not even listed as an appetizer. It's a side dish, but man, it's probably worth it. I mean, it's just spectacular. So there's a lot of great things downtown. I mean, at Circa, if you're betting on a game, then that's the place you want to be, because no matter where you are in that joint, a TV is on to sports, and you're going to see your game, and you can, watch from the center of the casino's floor. You can look down onto the 3-level sports book with all the big screens. I mean, it's really a sight to behold in that regard.
All right. And then one last question, as always. You are the resident expert on Las Vegas. So what are your thoughts overall, how Vegas is bouncing back from this pandemic situation, and do you foresee it coming back to normal eventually? I guess it will, but at what time do you think that'll happen?
Yeah, definitely it will come back. There's no doubt about it. I mean, everything will come back, once this thing gets tamed. In terms of timetable, that's what the big question is. It's going to be a while. What we're seeing is, I mean, they want it. By they, I mean the tourism business, whether it's a casino, a restaurant, a bar, everybody wants it bad. The governor relaxes these things from 25% to 35%, and they all act like it's New Year's Eve again, and they're trying to push forward and get as open as fast as they can and to as high a capacity as they're allowed. So it's going to happen, but even the next change is only going to go to 50%. So it's going to take a while. I think by midsummer, we're going to start to see, assuming that these COVID numbers continue to go down, which they have been doing in Nevada, I think we're going to start to see it feel the same again. I'll tell you what, it sure felt like Vegas on Super Bowl. It was busy and people were partying and having fun. And I was walking around with friends checking out the sports books, and we all said, man, this is like old Vegas. So it's going to happen again. But I think that probably not till close to the end of this year and probably into 2022 before we're not really having these conversations. So I'll probably be back to see you 2-3 more times before that happens, Steve.
Okay.
Well, you know, I actually just remembered there is might not be your scene, but there's a big punk rock music festival every year that they didn't have one last year, or in 2000. Yeah, they didn't have one last year. They just announced it's going to be the end of September, and they're going in. They got a lot of big bands headlining. So that's the first like full music festival I think I've seen in the entire country that's been announced so far.
You're talking about EDC, right?
No, Punk Rock Bowling.
Oh, Punk Rock Bowling, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they put out a lineup. They put out a lineup like last week, I think. I think it's September 21st or something. It's the end of September.
You guys are the only, podcast that I can do where I go on and learn something. I swear, I didn't know about that. I will.
Yeah.
That's good information. Also,
it's news to me too.
Well, I think you're a little old for a punk rock scene there, Dad.
Oh man, cut him some slack. He'll go. He'll go.
Hey, I'll be there. Okay.
So I may be out there for that. So we'll have to meet up if the COVID numbers keep going down.
Okay.
Hey, man, I don't mind punk rock. I'll go.
All right.
Matt's host at the Virgin is going to give him a suite so he can go out there and go to that. All right. Well, anyway, Anthony, it's always great talking to you. And if people want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Well, LasVegasAdvisor.com, or, again, these YouTube things we're doing, just search Las Vegas Advisor and you'll see what we're doing. And of course, everything leads to the next thing, right? That's the way we do it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, as always, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thanks very much for your time, and you take care.
Well, thanks. You guys are doing good work. Your YouTube stuff was an inspiration for what we're doing. So appreciate it.
Okay,
right.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, so that does it for our interview with Anthony Curtis. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below to let us know what you think. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, click the bell, and turn on all notifications so you never miss any of our other great videos.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you like to try out internet casinos, we have a website at AmericanCasinoBonuses.com. You can go there. You don't have to put up any money. You don't have to put in any credit card information. You can try out a variety of casinos without putting up any money. So again, AmericanCasinoBonuses.com. Thanks again for watching the video, and best wishes for good luck in the casinos.